everybody, my name is Paige Newton, and today I will be talking about cognitive behavioral therapy, how it's better than medication alone. According to the National Institute of Mental Health, over 23% of the U.S. adult population suffers with mental health issues, and close to 40 million adults in the U.S. have medications for these issues. Author Marvelyn Georgia, author of Cognitive Behavioral Therapy, says that CBT is a form of therapy that focuses on the connection between your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. In this treatment approach, your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors are viewed as separate but connected aspects of your personality. By understanding these connections, you can learn how to change your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. CBT is a long-term success method because the trained techniques bring durability to the brain. However, some patients only use CBT. Some patients only use medication. Some patients use CBT and medication. However, medication has a short-term success method because it loses its impact over time. CBT is helpful. Research proves that CBT is better than medication alone. Imagine for a moment we are soldiers sailing home after a long, awful war. Our minds are full of terrible memories that we just experienced. Now we're sailing home, but we'll still face difficult tasks ahead. Our memories can lead to PTSD, and we need to decide whether to use CBT or risk facing the negative aspects of mental unpreparedness. This is similar to Odysseus, who fought in the Trojan War. While he journeyed back to Ithaca, he faced difficult tasks, such as the island of Sirens, where the sirens were monsters with beautiful voices who lured sailors into the sea to sleep forever in the water graves. Odysseus asked his men to tie him up to the mast of the ship to resist the temptations and desires of the sirens, so he can journey back to Ithaca. This Greek story is similar to cognitive behavioral therapy because Odysseus knew he would hear the sirens on his journey and chose to tie himself to the mast to avoid the very thing that will kill him. He knew he would listen, but decided ahead of time to save himself and others from the ruin from the enemy. He chose physical actions to save him from harm. He decided his truth before he faced the sirens. This is similar to CBT exercises in that the patient knows the weaknesses and chooses physical activity, breathing techniques, positive mindsets, and journaling to avoid the pitfalls of unhealthy mental habits. Odysseus chose a method like CBT to succeed the distractions of the sirens so he can journey back to Ithaca. Understanding the definition of cognitive behavioral therapy is that the word cognitive comes from the Latin word cognoscere, which means to recognize. Cognitive therapy is about forming correct thoughts, expectations, and attitudes, and the goal is to recognize false and distressing beliefs. According to the article, How Well Do Antidepressants Work and What Are the Alternatives? It says that during COVID-19, 1 in 8 American adults were prescribed an antidepressant drug. Zoloft, an antidepressant drug, is the 12th most commonly prescribed medication in the United States. According to another article, prescribing antidepressants has significantly increased in the last decade. There is concern about overprescribing antidepressants. Cognitive behavioral therapy is a source of accountability because the patient can have help and the therapist can guide them. The therapist can fill the patient's emotions with positivity instead of negative ideas. The patient can retrain his or her brain with therapist-specific worksheets, exercises, and methods. In a teen self-regulation workbook, it encourages patients to use positive self-talk, avoid self-criticism, and remind yourself of all you already achieved so you can feel more confident about the task ahead of you. Patients should have goals to overcome obstacles. CBT is helpful because of the patterns and methods to achieve these goals. Cognitive behavioral therapy is possible because it promotes self-care and it creates a habit. CBT-based habits create healthy processes, like having a routine in the morning. It promotes self-care by being prepared for the future instead of focusing on others' comments or social media. Sticking to a routine is essential because you need to maintain consistency for better lives. Routine is beneficial because it brings stability and avoids chaos. Cognitive behavioral therapy is cost-effective for the patient because they want independence for themselves instead of having a long-term dependency on the therapist. The CBT patient is growing to be more independent by using the skills and exercises that were taught by them by the therapist. One article said that CBT was highly cost-effective compared to conventional therapy and reduced the cost of treatment by $945 per patient. Eventually, the patient will use the skills and exercises that were taught by them by the therapist on their own. When the patient feels ready to decrease the sessions, independence can begin. Cognitive behavioral therapy is helpful because it can regulate the CBT patient's train of thought and mindset. The CBT patient should regulate their train of thought by thinking positively in situations that are miserable or even devastating. Students, especially in school, are 83% more likely to be more stressed. According to Vinny and Foster, who wrote the Teen Self-Regulation Workbook, says that teens are reaching stress in unhealthy levels. A state change is a CBT exercise that helps the patient by getting up, walking around, or even doing physical actions for a short period, even just a few minutes. After a state change, the patient should start feeling better and start focusing on the task before them. Foster promotes CBT exercises to help deal with anxiety, depression, and anger. A CBT exercise to help with anxiety is the acronym RAIN. R stands for recognizing your thoughts, feelings, and physical sensations. The second letter A is allowing your thoughts, feelings, and physical sensations to come and go without pushing them away. The third letter is I, which means that the patient should investigate their emotions that lead up to that emotion. The fourth and final letter is N, which means that the patient should nurture oneself and say something positive, such as, I love you or accept you. These CBT exercises should focus on the present instead of the negative thoughts. A CBT exercise to help with depression is 5 good things. Writing down positive experiences can make the patient feel happy inside and be grateful for the essential things that the patient is experiencing. A CBT exercise to help with anger is identifying the triggers that cause the patient to be angry. Patients should reflect on their behavior that leads up to that emotion. Writing down the patient's 3 strongest triggers. 2, writing down one strategy for avoiding or reducing these triggers. And 3rd and final, writing down one strategy for dealing with these triggers if they're unavoidable. All these CBT exercises have something in common, which is having a plan and learning from the triggers and the patient's mistakes. On the other hand, many Americans cannot afford adequate mental health because the cost of CBT is not accessible for many. The Mayo Clinic says that private practice therapist sessions range between $100 to $250 per hour. Still, community mental health clinics have a lower rate of $20 to $100 per session based on income. Some CBT patients do not have a therapist to help them. The reality is that most people do not have a counselor, either because there is not one where they live or because they do not have insurance coverage for mental health care. Family physicians and pediatricians give and deliver most of the mental health care. Only half of people with major depression are getting any treatment at all, according to the National Institute of Mental Health. CBT is misunderstood by people as a solution for those only with a mental illness. In addition, the fact is that CBT can help anyone with basic struggles. One article said that CBT focuses on identifying false beliefs that are common among individuals with confidence issues and people who are vulnerable to poor thought processes. CBT is not just for significant mental illness, but can help anyone with everyday use to become the best version of themselves. In conclusion, while some patients may need antidepressants, almost all cases would benefit from CBT. Unfortunately, CBT is underused because it is not an instant solution, and it needs more work over time, but it produces long-lasting results. Cognitive behavioral therapy is better than medication alone. Cognitive behavioral therapy takes its basis from the Bible. Romans 12:2 says, "Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind." So when used, CBT can biblically encourage and change the mindsets of those with anxiety, depression, and other struggles. Thank you. And I'll open with the floor for questions. Yes, Ms. Roddy.
Okay, I'm about to shift gears on you, but my question is, I'm so proud of you, Paige. You did so good. I'm so proud of you. So as you know, the senior thesis process is very stressful. So do you have any advice that you would like to give to all these students who have CBT, I'm sorry, any techniques from CBT that would help them? And also just, I love it because one day I was telling you, you asked me how my day was going. I said I have chapel today. And still to this day, I get nervous when I talk in front of people. And you said, Miss Roddy, you need a sleep change. And it made me smile so much in how you're living it. And so, do you have any advice for those that have senior thesis coming up of things they can do to help them get through it, just like you just did?
There's some ways that, okay.
Got it.
It was hard for me because, like, there's some days, like, I didn't, like, want to do it, but I did, and, that's a good question, Ms. Strati. There's some CBT exercises that helped me throughout this year. I was walking in the hallways, like, back and forth to classes and trying to say it throughout the day. And just coming to you on Fridays or meeting with you on like days that I just needed like encouragement or
You have a lot of cheerleaders.
I do, Miss Jotty. Most of them are in this room right now. The state change has been helpful a lot through this process, and I love it so much. Like, just presenting today was like one of out of my comfort zone, like so much, like 1% out of my comfort zone, and it felt so good.
Miss Strati stole my question. Sorry to add that.
But you can still ask the question.
So, Paige, you can do hard things. You all can do hard things. And you didn't just do the thing, you did it well. So, your topic is so interesting. And I told you that all along, every time we've had a conversation about it. I discussed before with Miss Strati's question, I'd like for you to tell everybody about the picture drawing that you told me about. What a cool practice that is for helping.
So one strategy that helped me through this paper was drawing pictures. It was, for example, for exercise, I drew a dumbbell for exercise. And for depression, I drew grapes because of the grapes of wrath. Yeah, it is a depressing book. Yes, Mr. Dottie.
Paige, I have a question. So I think you did a really good job of including multiple refutations, not just in your paper, but in your presentation today. I'm fascinated by this because I've never heard of this before, and you're educating me about something. One of your refutations was the cost can be detrimental because cost for a therapist can be difficult. So my question is, I need you to educate me. Is a therapist needed for CBT, or is this something you can do on your own?
That's a good question, Mr. Jotty. So, for example, I go to Broadmoor Baptist Church and do therapy sessions with my counselor, and it's been a joy to learn about how to use CBT and like to use it in situations that are like miserable or even devastating. Like, it's related to ADHD, which I have, and it's been a joy learning more about ADHD and how I can use it for the benefit.
So it sounds like you would recommend consulting a professional and not just trying to do this on your own.
Yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Davis.
Paige, we love you and are so proud of you. You did a really good job. I'm curious if you could tell us just a little about how you picked your topic.
That's a good question, Mr. Davis. So it's been a joy to learn how to use CBT. And like I said to Mr. Drati, I have ADHD and it goes crazy a lot of times. And like sometimes I get angry and I have ADHD and I wanted to learn more about myself and how I can use CBT at home and other places like school, just walking down between classes and getting the CBT.
That's great. So one more question, and you may not have researched this. It's okay. You can just say that if it's the case. But so there's somewhat of a debate among counselors about different methodologies to use for therapies. One of those is Rogerian, and it's like listening. I just want to listen to you. Just tell me about yourself, and you're probably going to figure out your story just by talking to me. The other is CBT, which is more of a coaching about methodology about how to face these struggles. And both can be helpful, but if someone was like, I just want to listen to people and not coach them, what would you tell them, you think?
I would.
For your own personal experience.
So that's a good question, Mr. Davis. So I would recommend. I didn't really do any research on that, but I would recommend like trying CBT first before you go to a therapist to help through the process.
Thank you.
Yes.
First of all, you did really well. Second of all, I was wondering if you think that using CBT along with medicine or instead of medicine could help decrease the suicide rates, especially teenagers or people under 18.
That's a good question. So I would use CBT if they have suicidal thoughts. I just would recommend CBT throughout life, and when people have suicidal thoughts, not use medication. I don't know how to answer. That's a good question. Yes, Ms. Davis.
You did a wonderful job. Very, very proud of you. Seeing your journey at this school and hearing your topic and your writing and your speech, I see a lot of beautiful things about classical education that came out in your talk page. How much of that, of your journey through Christian classical education, did you try to tie in to what you talked about today?
That's a good question, Miss Davis. I loved when I was in the 9th grade reading the Odyssey and the Iliad next to Miss Cheney. And it's been a joy coming to PCA and learning about the classical education and how we can read classical books like the Odyssey and the Iliad to bring together our papers throughout the senior thesis process.
Okay, I have a comment question that I'll give you. So and it's more of a comment. So you have in your paper, the teen self-regulation workbook encourages patients to use positive self-talk. So I know that this is something that you have talked to your classmates about and that you presented to us. But as your teacher, article for Bailey. Bailey, I just found something that you might need for your paper. Or Landon, look what I just found for your paper. Kate, look what I just found. You are the encourager of the class. That's what you've done all year. And I think you encouraged all of us by showing us how this really works. It's slow and steady wins the race, and you just did. We're proud of you.